What's up, everybody? It was my birthday this last weekend, and I decided to go and see Godzilla Minus One and see what all the hullabaloo was about. I felt an unexpected spurt of energy again today on my lunch break at work, and I decided to try and use that time wisely. And to that end, I decided to just try and do this video without using a teleprompter. You may have noticed I've done that in previous videos. I'm not very good at it, so I figured just cut all that out and try this instead. I'm going to use my tablet, and I'm going to maybe have to employ a little bit more improvisation than usual. Sorry, but let's see how it goes. The short answer is, if you haven't already figured it out, it's fantastic. If you read any of the reviews anywhere, or if you get to the end of this review, you're going to find out it's an exquisite movie. Just like everybody's saying, this means I'm going to have to stretch some shit out. You know, it's not a bad movie, so I'm not going to have as much to talk about and make fun of. But we'll get this video to a reasonable length in one way or another. So let's, I intend to do my best, and here we go. So this is the first Toho Godzilla movie since Shin Godzilla, which veered away from Godzilla's usual path of destruction by being fucking good. Most of them are just fun. This one and Shin Godzilla are both quite good, like actual good films, which is a nice change of pace for me. Yes, we have the Americanized Godzilla series, and they tried, but the first one didn't have enough Godzilla, and the second one had arguably too much. So this is right smack in the middle, and it's all the better for it. Let's see. Based on what I remember, those American movies, which I haven't seen in a while, they work better as tributes to Godzilla, as opposed to actual series entries. They are definitely their own thing apart from the Japanese Godzilla movies. Shin Godzilla and this one are easily higher quality than Godzilla 98, though, which, as of this recording, is still the nadir of the Godzilla franchise on either side of the pond. But right away, this one's set in World War II, at the end of World War II, and it's a very nice change of pace, and also kind of a no-brainer return to form for the series. There's more pathos and human drama in the first 5 minutes of the movie than I expected in the entire thing, which is great. Godzilla Wastes No Time is showing up. By the way, there's going to be spoilers in this because I don't know how to do this yet without spoilers, so if you're sensitive about that sort of thing, you're probably going to want to avoid this whole video. But yeah, Godzilla Wastes No Time showing up to wreck some shit in the first 5 minutes, though. He already exists and is a known quantity in this movie before the movie starts. But in the beginning, he starts out like Godzilla 98 sized, and then through some silly, fun wartime shenanigans, grows a whole lot bigger later on in the movie. So one piece of information about the movie that is rightly celebrated constantly from what I've been reading is the budget. This movie cost $15 million to make, not a lot by Hollywood standards. It is so well spent here. It does make me wonder what kind of maybe exploitation the artists may have experienced during the making of the movie. I don't know if that's a thing that happens in Japan, but I know that ordinarily when an American person brags about getting something made more cheaply overseas, it's not a great thing. But this is a Japanese production of a Japanese film series, so maybe I'm a little off base with that. The redesign of Godzilla himself and monster effects look fantastic, especially given the price. The film itself has what felt like to me a highly Americanized mood and score. It was much moodier than I'm accustomed to seeing Godzilla movies, the Japanese ones being. And that is not a complaint at all. It's very weighty and very epic. The score, you're going to hear me talk about the score a lot in the course of this video. It is so good. It reminded me a lot of like a Thin Red Line. It's got that level of drama and internal strife. It's exquisite. They drop a lot on the shoulders of the main character of this movie. He kind of arguably sets off the chain of events that lead up to the climax of the movie. There's a lot of implication that he's kind of responsible for just untold numbers of dead Japanese soldiers and villagers. So they're really piling it onto this guy right away. The two leads we're introduced to within 10 to 15 minutes of the movie. Godzilla shows up, wrecks shit, and then just a few minutes later, the male lead meets the female lead, and they're a likable pair right away. They waste no time being charming. The emotional plot, the B plot, the plot that isn't Godzilla's here and he's fucking shit up, is really quite intriguing. Number one, our main character experiences a lot of self-doubt and is thought a coward by a lot of people. And of course, he works his way up to getting the shit redeemed out of him later on, it was really satisfying for me. So our main character wastes no time in getting a family back. His real family dies after Godzilla's initial onslaught, and then he gets back to his village and finds that most people that he knows is dead or are dead. He quickly stumbles upon a young woman with a baby who isn't hers, but that doesn't end up mattering throughout the course of this movie. The woman with the baby kind of just gradually moves in with the young guy, and then they spend the vast majority of the movie resisting the urge to make that a romantic thing until right at the very end, and I really appreciate them for that. The main male character gets a job on a boat, and the crew of the boat, they all have personality and they're all charming. Everybody in this movie stands out. Like, there's not a bad character in it. So thank you for that. Let's see, the family dynamic that quickly develops between the two leads and the baby is just delightful and charming, and again, non-romantic. I expected them to be, banging pretty quick, and it doesn't happen. It's great. I love it. I'm so happy that they rejected doing that right away. And then there is they cut the USA out of the plot of the movie. It's right at the end of World War II again, so they use the conflict between the USSR and America as a plot device to keep America out of the plot. Smart. So according to the timeline of this movie, Godzilla already exists, as I mentioned, before the Bikini Atoll bombings in World War II. Of the crew members of the entire cast, probably so far, the boat captain is my favorite. He's all gung-ho about fucking up Godzilla until Godzilla shows up and throws a big ship, whatever it's called, aircraft carrier, there we go, across the ocean, and he immediately changes his mind. He's really funny and he's very charming. But yeah, let's see, there's a chase. They go out on their boat. It's a mine-sweeping boat, so their job is to go out and find old mines and destroy them, which ends up being very helpful in the end. There's a chase between Godzilla and this boat that is genuinely unnerving. And if you've ever seen a Godzilla movie, except maybe lately, I can't imagine you've ever been genuinely scared or unnerved by anything Godzilla has ever done. It's just a guy in a suit smashing toy cars together. This is genuinely unnerving, which I was not expecting. This is also a point where the costume effects look the most costumey. Like, Godzilla looks the least organic in the entire movie. I know they've slowly been moving away from having a guy in a suit because, CGI exists now. But they keep the CGI to a barely noticeable minimum, which I really appreciate. The costume effects are a really big part of Godzilla's charm for me. So here's a new wrinkle to the Godzilla mythos. From what I've seen, I've never seen this. At one point, they trick Godzilla into swallowing a mine, like a giant sea mine, and then they blow it up while it's in his mouth. And it blows off like a quarter section of his skull cap, and then he immediately heals. I've never seen that happen. Like, I've seen him recover, but this is the first time I've seen them imply that he is invulnerable. I thought that was cool. Never seen that before. Godzilla fucks up a second aircraft carrier in here, and it might be the most epic set piece in the movie were it not for the other atomic explosions throughout the course of the film. The atomic breath here is bigger and more badass than it has ever been. It is absolutely colossal. Here's another moment where, again, the music, I'm going to point out the music. There was a confession scene in this movie where the music is 90% of what makes the scene heartbreaking, and that is not to say that the acting isn't fucking great, because it is. It's really affecting, but the music is so good. Maybe that's just me and my musical inclination, but it's so good. And this is also where my favorite line of the movie comes in. I'm not going to spoil that, but this confession scene, you might recognize it when you hear it. It's great. The guys on the news announced the arrival. Was it the news or was it across the radio? I don't remember. But either way, the Japanese guy that is announcing that Godzilla is here kind of does it and makes it sound like this sort of thing happens all the time, as if he is aware of the timeline of the previous Godzilla attacks, which I thought was pretty funny. Godzilla's arrival on land is done very old school. That classic Godzilla theme is really pumping out. I was really pleased with that. The cinematography and the music is awesome. The Japanese newsmen all apparently have really giant big balls over there. There's these 4 or 5 guys that are reporting from the roof of a skyscraper a block away from Godzilla wreckage shit. It'll be like Japan's Channel 4 news team, Ron Burgundy, and of course they're dead 30 seconds later because of those big balls they got. So they add a couple of new abilities to Godzilla's arsenal in this movie. My favorite of which is probably the spines on his back. They are severely upgraded, and now they react when he's charging up his atomic breath. It's really cool, really colorful. I'm a big fan. I read a couple of references to Grave of the Fireflies from other reviewers reviewing this movie, and it is very apt in one scene in particular. And if you've ever seen Grave of the Fireflies, you'll probably pick up on it as it happens. Here it's assumed, or it's implied, that Godzilla's atomic breath kills the female lead, which is no fun. And again, every character in this is really good, so I felt her loss. I was not pleased to see her go. At this point, the main male lead's survivor's guilt must be fantastic, because he survives the big thing at the beginning, and then he survives Godzilla's atomic breath, which kills his lady friend, and it's just, yeah, it must be hard. These mushroom cloud shots are as epic as anything in Oppenheimer, even if they're not quite as realistic. Godzilla is taken more seriously in this movie than in any American version of Godzilla that I have seen. Maybe the trailers for those American Godzilla movies took him the most seriously, but for a full-length film, this whole thing, he's a very big problem, and he's taken very seriously. Maybe the coolest part of the plot for me is the idea that ordinary Japanese citizens take it upon themselves to band together and figure out how to kill Godzilla instead of it being some big military operation. I thought that was extremely cool. I've never seen that before. I really appreciate them doing that. So the scheme that the citizens of Japan come up with to do away with Godzilla is extremely original, and I've never seen anything like it in another Godzilla movie. It involves sinking Godzilla very quickly down to the bottom of the ocean, and then pulling him back up real fast and using the compression and ensuing decompression to fuck him up. That's a really cool idea, very interesting and unique. But yeah, basically every character in this movie, even the ones that are introduced in the second half or the last third of the movie, are unique and memorable. It was really cool bringing back this one guy from the beginning that had a very meaningful exchange with our main character. They bring him back in a way that is necessary, kind of, and not forced at all, and I greatly appreciated that. And he didn't require a lot of convincing either. It took like 5 minutes, and they acted like he was gonna be a hard ass, but he wasn't. He wasn't gonna be a hard ass. However, the rationale for the science guys being able to track Godzilla's theoretical travel plans from the middle of the ocean to his landfall in Tokyo was kind of shoddy, but it's a Godzilla movie, so some things I'm just gonna forgive. There was a smart guy who was a member of the fishing boat team. Another favorite character of mine, top 3 certainly. He gets a very compelling and brief speech and kind of shames the entirety of the country of Japan for its wartime behavior and bullshit, which again, really good writing in this movie, really great characters. I'm legitimately pleased and shocked by this. So it's here that our main guy gets his chance to redeem himself for the actions at the beginning of the movie and to save himself in the eyes of his family, his new adopted family. They introduce a kick-ass experimental jet, which they will then use to fight Godzilla. I'm told that it's a reference to Jet Jaguar somehow. I didn't see that, but okay, maybe I'm missing something that's happened before. One thing I have noticed in this movie, Godzilla doesn't get any real personality, like he's just a big scary threat, which is fine in the context of this film, but some of the other ones gave him some personality, and I thought that was fun. I kind of noticed that was missing here. One of the members of the boat crew is this young guy, this new fish rookie guy who gets hurt, and the other members of the boat crew tell him to stay on shore, that it's not cool to, like he's big on the idea of, I want to fight for my country too. And then the other veteran fishboat guys are like, hey, it's not a great thing, it's not a cool thing to brag about to have been through a war. It's actually something you should be proud of that you've never been to war. And then of course he has a moment at the end where he does get involved against the wishes of his superiors, and it's really, it made my heart swell. It was really good, and I liked it quite a lot. That's when he became, again, he was kind of a standard character up until that. Like, he was the most standard character up until that point, and then he was kick-ass, just like all the other ones. Let's see. There's a quiet, slow-mo moment where everything seems lost. That is probably the best single shot of the movie, and you'll know it when you see it. They figure out another plan to fuck Godzilla up. They try the compression and decompression thing, and it hurts him. It fucks him up a little bit, but it requires like one more good punch in the face. So they have this plan C, where they have this cool experimental jet piloted by the little guy, the main character, who's been waiting the whole movie for this redemption. They load his plane up with bombs, and he intends to kamikaze Godzilla in the face with this jet full of nukes. And I thought that was just fucking super awesome. It happens, and Godzilla is utterly fucked up by that explosion. The top half of his skull is gone after getting hit with that. And most of the movie has been building up to this guy getting a second chance to do the kamikaze thing that so many of his fellow soldiers did at the beginning of the movie. And he punked out of it. And now he's been like, this whole movie, he's been like, I'm going to do it this time I'm going to do it, and I'm going to be a hero, just like all my friends. And he resists that urge in the end, like, he resists his own ego. I thought that was, again, it was really fucking cool. This is a good fucking movie. It made me think about a lot of things, and I'm not accustomed to that, especially from fucking Godzilla movies. Oh, and by the way, last minute twist, old gal, female lead, is not dead. She just got knocked aside by the blast and kind of fucked up a little bit, but she's alive. And we find out about that after we find out that our jet pilot, main character guy, is also alive. He ejected out of the plane. Instead of taking the easy route and killing himself and leaving that little kid an orphan for a second time, he decides to jump out of the plane, to eject from the plane, and come back for her, which is fucking handy because his new girlfriend is still alive. So, big surprise there. And that was Godzilla -1. You guys, I won't bullshit you and try to act like it isn't fantastic. Go see it. Between this and Shin Ultraman, I am stupid excited for the upcoming Shin Kamen Rider that is on its way in the next few months. But yeah, also, school starts in a few weeks, and I don't know how that's going to affect these videos going out, but I guess we're going to find that out together. It's going to reduce the amount of free time I have, so chances are these are going to be very few and far between. I've got this nice new space to shoot in now, which makes that reality unfortunate, but I'll still put them out when I can. In the meantime, though, and as always, go get a fucking job, you lazy ass fucking freeloaders!